Good
Morning. My name is Alan Sidney from West Africa. See you all and looking forward to this discussion.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Stella Galambi, co-founder, Hamwe East Africa.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lincoln Tio. Good morning, everyone. I'm Selvi Ukuru, co-founder and CEO of Uganda.
Okay.
Good morning to everyone.
Good morning. Thank you. You can get to the site as well.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephen Wilson. Good morning, everyone.
Okay. Also, our friends who are taking our coverage, you're also part of us. Just a quick introduction. People who are taking our coverage, giving us a live feed.
My name is Matan Kwagala.
Okay.
It's a mobile singer sound.
Okay.
Vera at Highway, singer projection. Eddie Chisoma is on a video switch. And David Chienji is doing the live stream.
I've also seen journalists here, so it's good to know you. When you're for event, let us know you. Okay. Okay. I think the introduction is done. Oh, somebody's... okay. Okay. Thank you, Simon, for coming. All right. So, as you said earlier on, we are going to have a discussion about digitalization of agriculture in northern Uganda. And it's key that we are talking about northern Uganda. And I am very aware many of you have traveled to either West Nile. Yeah, I have a wide microphone. Oh, so I'm okay. And travel to Acholi sub-region or northern Uganda. And the reason why I think this discussion is very important, northern Uganda, of course, has a very vast fertile land. All of us know about it. Is one opportunity, that land that has not been tapped by our local people in northern Uganda, by the people in West Nile. What we see at the moment is people that are traveling far from other different regions to come and tap into opportunity and invest in that land. And today we want to have a discussion around there. How can we make use of this land, be innovative, and as well come up with strategies that farmers can benefit in terms of digitalization, and they can get money from it. So we are going to have inclusive innovation in agriculture talk. And I'll start the roundtable now. Of course, Steve is going to be helping me. And I will start with my panel this side. And later on, we shall have my friend who has traveled from Kitgum. He's going to give us a testimonial. He's called Ocheng David. David, welcome from Kitgum. I know it's a far travel to reach here, but you're welcome. So David worked with Jola Company. Just a brief introduction about him. They have 67 farmers group in northern Uganda, specifically in Kitgum and in Agago. And in those groups, they have 25 members. And you can see how important he is. That's why we have him today here. So let's start the discussion. And Steve, we're going to start with a presentation from Hamwe, East Africa. We briefly want to ask you a few questions. I hope I pronounced it right. Hamwe, East Africa. Asimwe, right? I want to ask you a question on... just briefly explain to us how this traceable application is going to help the farmers? And how does it work? Because we need to know how eventually it works.
Thank you, Ben. We're very happy to have be working on digitalization, like you called it, in this very potential area of northern Uganda. And our idea of digitalization is to make sure that there is visibility on any value chain, right from when someone decides on planting, buying seed, who they buy from, where they sell, and then on the other side, how the buyers or the off-takers, who we usually call processors, can find out where to buy in case farmers harvest, where the consumers can verify quality, and this, in one word, is what they call traceability. We have a big job of explaining to all the people who are involved in the value chain what traceability means, starting from the farmer up to the consumer. So our digitalization activity or work is going to be very concentrated around making sure that the input providers or manufacturers and suppliers can conform or provide information about planting material, where to plant it, what is appropriate for which farmer or which agroecological zone, up to the time the farmers can plant this seed, harvest it, and ultimately increase on their production. The challenges around traceability of value chain has been that farmers do not exactly get what they are meant to be using. They don't have information, and ultimately this translates into poor production, and then of course their incomes are affected. So traceability is mainly concerned about how farmers source for seed up to planting stage, up to when they harvest, and then the off-takers or processors can also make sure they understand who planted what quantities are available, so that they can plan ahead. So in brief and in simple terms, that's what traceability is about.
I think we shall have a quick follow-up question. How would that work? You're dealing with northern Uganda.
Yeah.
I grew up there. I know farmers there. People don't know these things of internet.
Yeah.
People literally don't have smartphones. So how are you going to do that?
Okay. Thank you, Ben. So, like I said, in a typical value chain, you'll have farmers. So one of the first things that we are going to do is to make sure we know who these farmers are. So we're going to profile them, and we're going to do what they call digital profiling. Digital profiling will give you primary data about a farmer, that is their name, their household, their age, their gender, and all the details that are very essential to know who this person is before you engage them. And then part of that profile also means there's what they call secondary data. This is where digitalization now sets in, and we'll be doing actual profiling of where their activity happens, their farming happens, their soil type health, their geofencing. We're going to map the farms so that this information can be available to the stakeholders who are working directly with this farmer. You cannot plan for farmers if you don't know where they are, who they are, what they do, what value chains they are capable of doing. And then we have the input dealers or agro dealers. They need to be profiled. So the digitalization will also cover input dealers or suppliers to understand how they input or what they call in-selling of seeds, and then who they sell to. And that information will all be tracked on a comprehensive system or integrated system that should enable the users of the information to trace and know what kind of seed was sold, to who it was sold, and therefore be able to project. We also have the agents. You're saying, how shall we reach the farmers? We are profiling people who live within these communities to work with these farmers, to reach them. this is a component they call last mile. Imagine an agent going to an elderly person or someone who doesn't have time to go to the agro dealer to be able to transact, to request for inputs, to buy seed, to get information about what seed to plant, even to make a payment. All this has to be digitalized. From requesting to payments to delivery, all that information is very vital for an integrated system. And obviously, the seed or the harvest should end up at the aggregator, where these farmers usually collect and sell their inputs, or harvest rather. And this means that now we can know who bought what they've planted, offer them pricing, better pricing, and even reach out to them in the middle of the season in order to create the linkages, especially with the market. So that is how all these farmers, agro-dealers, agents, off-takers will be linked within this system.
Definitely we're going to get back to you because I also want to understand what you'll need from the farmer. You have talked about so many things. You're going to have agents and sort of it. I know training is also part of it. So we shall get back to you. I know that my farmers have questions later on to ask you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ben. The second question I'll go to Paula. We're talking about farmers here. Yeah. So we're very sure that through the connected farmer solution, you also be targeting farmer groups. So could you briefly explain to us how the farmer groups will be digitized, and from the digitization journey, how that will help you to actually create impact in the target areas? Paula, over to you. Thank you.
So, good morning once again. Good morning. Paula Namuli from NALCOM. We are providing a solution called Connected Farmer to UNCDF. Our focus is on Area 4 of the UNCDF project in West Nile. So we shall be providing digital applications and capacity building for business management for COPs, cooperatives, produce organizations, and farmer groups. So what we shall be doing is helping these groups manage their businesses. From the information that we shall collect, the way the platform works is that it shall collect information that shall help the farmer groups manage their businesses better. One of the advantages of this is that farmers will be able to get information on markets, the access to markets, potential new channels. They can come together. For example, they can come together and negotiate prices with big off-takers, say like Bitco. Of course, there's power in numbers. So if on this platform, one farmer can get together with like 100 other farmers, negotiate a price, look for bigger markets instead of, dealing individually. So access to markets, access to finance. The platform is built in such a way that the transactional history of a farmer can be traced. So a farmer can use this transactional history, say, to get a loan from the bank. A bank, or a financial institution can credit score a farmer using this history on the platform. We all know that these communities are not necessarily banked, so this platform can help them get there. Then they can also get loans for their inputs. The organizations that provide inputs.
In terms of group or individual farmer?
It can be individual, it can be groups, depending. Yeah.
Does it have limits?
No, it depends on, say, the capability of the farmer, the organization that provides the inputs. They can use the history, the transactional history on this platform to be able to provide inputs. They know the capability of the farmer. They know his worthiness. They know they can trust because there's information available about the farmer. Then That's access to markets, access to finance, loan inputs. The platform also interfaces with mobile money. So it's a cashless kind of arrangement where we reduce the challenges and risks that are associated with handling cash. Then furthermore, there's capacity building and training that we can provide to these farmer groups and the farmers.
Those trainings are going to be for? Because when you say capacity building, what specific trainings are you going to do to these farmers?
Okay, so I'll give an example of training farmers in maize planting, when to weed, what kind of fertilizers to use, such things. The training would be specific to that particular group, the crop that they are planting. How can we help them have better yield? How can we help them have better results? Yeah. On top of that, the platform has a know your farmer capability. So anyone, it builds trust in the agribusiness value chain. Anyone dealing with people, with farmers on this platform would have confidence that this farmer will be able to provide for me, say, 1 million kilos of maize. Yeah, because you know you know their journey, you know when they planted, what they planted, what you can foresee and forecast that I'll be able to get this much from this farmer or this farmer group, farmer organization. Then it reduces the mistrust between smallholder farmers and these farmer groups, because, for example, the platform can connect with a weighing scale through Bluetooth. So you know that I have provided 50 kilos to this farmer group. They're not going to say, no, I provided 30. Yeah? Because at that point of weighing, whatever produce you're providing, there's an alert through Bluetooth that is provided that shows what exactly you have given. And that can be used at the point of payment. Okay. So the managed service it's a managed service that doesn't need a lot of investment in say servers and software. All that these farmer groups need is a phone that has internet. So it's not a big investment to be able to access the platform.
We just pray during the capacity building you also tackle the issues, because we're talking about Bluetooth. My farmers there, I'm seeing them trying to reflect.
Yes.
Do they understand this? So I hope you'll have the training on
Yes,
that.
in the capacity building, we're working with with ICO that already does the training and capacity building in, say, Yumbe and some of the refugee camps. So they are well versed with how to deal with the farmer groups, refugees.
Okay, thank you. I think we shall pack the ICO contribution and try to see how the capacity building will be done. But now, over to you, Uhuru. But I'll request that we get audible enough so that the other colleagues can join in. So, Uhuru, as Cabrotech, building on the training aspect, how do you envision the farmer call center to kind of help in delivering extension and agro-advisory services and access to inputs? How will the farmer call center enable and improve extension services and agro-advisory services in the target area? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. Once again, I'm Uhuru. First of all, a brief on why as Cabrotech we are very passionate about agriculture as an industry and why we see digitalization as one of the breakthrough in agriculture. One, according to UBOS, agriculture contributes 21.5% of our GDP, and of which that contribution is mainly contributed by smallholder farmers, because according to the statistics, we have around 8.8 million farmers, of which 83% are smallholder farmers. Now, the 83% smallholder farmers contribute 75% of our national agricultural output. So that means if we are talking about an intervention that is to transform agriculture, then automatically we are talking about transforming smallholder farmers from subsistence to profitable commercial farmers. So that's why all our efforts in the transformation of agriculture focus on smallholder farmers. And yet, irrespective of the fact that the smallholder farmers contribute 75% to our national agricultural output, you find that according to FAO 2018, 81% of them have no access to extension services. Now, by extension services, we mean access to best practices of agriculture so they can improve their methods of farming to improve productivity, access to weather forecasts, access to market data, access to pest and disease information, so that information they can help them in improving how they do farming to make agriculture profitable and sustainable. So, for us as cooperative, we saw digitalization as one of the ways we can come in so we can bridge that extension gap. The government has tried to come up with different interventions with their agriculture policy of 2016, extension policy, and the setup of the Directorate for Extension Services. But then, even when you look at the target of achieving 5,000 extension workers, yes, that target is there, though they have so far been able to reach to 3,800 extension workers. But even when we achieve that target, still the 5,000 extension workers cannot traverse the entire country to serve the 8.8 million farmers. So because of infrastructure, because of even the sustainability of the system for extension workers to move from each farmer to farmer, because even when we consider the model of farmer group, training farmer groups, but remember there are some problems that are specific to individual farmers. So you come and train me as in a group, but then for me maybe the challenge is that I got a loan and because my child was sick and I used the loan money to pay for health care. So in a group, I cannot express all those individual problems when the extension worker is giving us a training. So that means there must be intervention that address individual specific farmer problems. And that's where we see digitization as the best way to handle that. So for us as a cooperative, we saw that we can come in and be able to complement government because we believe extension services which are private sector led can be more efficient, can reach as far as possible than if we go through the channel of government institutionalized extension services. So as cooperative, we assess and so what are the farmers we are dealing with? First of all, they don't have smartphones because smartphone penetration is 16% in Uganda. First of all, internet coverage is still low. Even when they have smartphones, they may not be able to access 2G, 3G as far as in Kampala. So putting into consideration that fact. But then we also appreciated that over 79% of the smallholder farmers have access to phones. Whether smartphones, whether feature phones, but they have access to phones. It may not be ownership, but have access. So we saw that we can harness this phone, even when it's a feature phone, so farmers can use that phone to achieve more when it comes to agricultural productivity. So that's when the idea of a farmers call center came into being, whereby we all agree that farmers have been making calls to relatives, to friends, and so the question we asked was, how do we harness that phone call so it can have more capabilities? That a farmer now can simply get a call and talk to an agronomist that my tomatoes have been destroyed, what can I do? Maybe a farmer can call and ask, what is the weather information for the next 2 weeks? And then you can provide that information to the farmer. So what we do as a call center, one is to aggregate agricultural information. So information on agricultural inputs, information on weather, on market, on all the stakeholders within the agricultural value chain. So after aggregating that information, then now we start disseminating that information. So the farmer calls, it's a toll free, so it's not charged any coin, and then he asks any question he wants. But even that farmer, beyond the calling, he can register, so he can receive periodic weather information, he can receive periodic market information, we can update him on best practices of agriculture, especially that we have already profiled him and we know what he grows, so we can keep him, giving him information, and even him, we can keep on engaging us. So at the end of the day, we are able to bridge that information gap. Then we can have a farmer who is empowered with the knowledge, empowered with the information, he knows where to sell, he knows how much he is going to sell, he knows where the market is, he knows how to deal with the diseases, and if we can do that, then we can transform the 68% subsistence farmers into profitable commercial farmers. So for us as Kilimo Farmers Call Center or cooperative, we find that as our noble mission to ensure that we bridge that gap and improve agricultural productivity.
I just wanted to ask you a question, because a farmer is going to call. Of course, the farmer has issues with either planting or maintaining the seeds and sort of them. And at a certain moment, the farmer may need that extension worker. So have you catered for that as well?
Actually, yes, we do that, because the model we are using is we are not phasing out the extension field workers, but instead we are complementing them. For example, if there is a disease outbreak, say armyworm comes, then and we don't know about that disease, or maybe the signs, we can only make sense of the signs if we can see the leaf, maybe how it looks like. So what we do, we profile the extension workers in that area, but we also have digital extension field agents. So we connect the farmer to the nearby digital extension field agent, and then this digital extension field agent is able to go and see what is happening at the farm. Now we have a system where that digital extension agent is able to feed in that information, and then we get that information live. So we know that this is what the digital extension field agent has discovered at the farm, and then we can now do, if it's a unique case, then we can take it to the level of research, and then maybe engage other stakeholders like the Ministry of Agriculture, NARO, and then we can see how that problem can be dealt with. So we are working with them and complementing their efforts.
Thank you. I think I want to talk to Guest Digital, and I want to understand again how you intend to roll out this digitalization of extension service to the farmers. Just give us a brief on how you intend to roll it out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ngom. I want to build on to some of the facts that my brother from Cooperative has shared. And we know most of the challenges that farmers are facing, especially the smallholder farmers, are access to inputs, quality inputs, access to credit. That is one of the challenges that they are seriously facing. Even when they want to quickly get a loan, they cannot easily access this loan because the financial institutions, they do not have the required collateral and all those other requirements for them to actually get credit from these financial institutions. Then they also have challenges of limited access to markets, and then of course, like he said, extension services. And once a farmer has access to extension services and agro-advisory services, then it means it will improve their production and productivity. So even on a small acre of land, they are able to actually produce a lot more, and that ultimately translates into more money for them. So at Akelo Banka, the solution that we are providing is a very basic solution. Our solution does about three things. One is to make sure that the farmer is able to access agro inputs, extension services, and they are able to actually access these things and ably pay for them either on cash or they can actually access it on credit. Now I'll throw more light on how that eventually works. You highlighted earlier that one of the challenges that our farmers have, of course, is issues of internet connectivity. I mean, the digital literacy levels in our communities are really wanting. So our solution is built on two that we are providing, in fact that we are partnering with UNCDF to provide, is the USSD-based solution. Meaning any farmer that can load or buy airtime using mobile money, using a USSD, or any farmer that can actually check their balance. The moment we train them and they are familiar with that USSD, that code, then they are able to simply use that code to connect to the service providers and be able to access these services. Now, how does that work? So the first step that we put into consideration is that the farmer is able to self-register or sign up onto the system. So once they have signed up onto the system, of course we avail the code. Our code is *284*60#. Now it pops up a menu where the farmer can register themselves. In wherever they are, they can register themselves. Now our role as Akelo Banker is to make sure that we also have service providers. Now the service providers, we aggregate them into the categories of extension workers, agro input dealers, the guys that can connect the farmers to the markets. So all those are service providers. So we are able to also register those service providers in the respective areas where those farmers are. Okay? Now, when the farmer makes a request for a service, once they have signed up, of course, the system brings them a secret code, okay, or a PIN, which they will always use to get onto the system to actually access these services. So once they have gone onto the system works in such a way that it is able to locate the nearest service provider. Because when we are profiling the service provider and the farmers, we are able to capture all those details. Where are they located? What are their contacts? All those details. So the moment the farmer makes a request, of course they are able to put in the details of what they want. I'm making a request, maybe I want maize for such an acre. The system also goes ahead and asks you, how soon do you want these inputs, for example, or how soon do you want the extension worker to visit your farm? In fact, it also has two options. You can choose whether you want the farmer to visit your farm, or to actually give you advisory services on a phone. Okay? So once the request has gone out, the system looks for the nearest service provider. If the service provider is not within that village, let's say Nakasero B, then it is able to push. If you search and there's no one that you need, the service provider you need is not within that area, it is able to push the request to a wider area network. Okay? Now once it gets there, so it keeps pushing it up until the farmer is able to get the service provider to deliver that service.
Let's talk about the credit literacy, because we are more interested in that.
Yes.
The northern Uganda that you're going to enroll these digital platforms. Of course, we have talked about the literacy in terms of technology and software. How will these people access your credit?
Okay, so importantly, the system, we work together with cooperatives and farmer organizations. The farmer organizations we are talking about basically are like VSLs, okay? So we also, once we have partnered with a cooperative, let's say a circle in a specific area, we agree with them. Now, what happens is that when a request comes from the farmer is also able the farmer is able to make a request on credit. Now that request will go to the cooperative. So that means the farmer must be a member of that cooperative. Okay? The farmer must be a member of that cooperative, the farmer must be a member of that village savings and loan association, or any form of financial institution.
If I'm a farmer,
yes,
I cannot support you for credit. I have to be in a cooperative.
Yes, you have to be in a cooperative. So the loan is processed by the cooperative, and importantly, because my friend talked about, I think someone talked about diversion of credit. We are also very cognizant of the fact that our farmers have needs. Okay, someone is requesting for credit of maybe 100,000 for inputs, but ideally they have a sick child. So most likely they will divert this money. So to avoid diversion, the credit, once the credit has been or the loan has been approved by the circle, the payment is made to the service provider, because remember, a request was generated, okay? But in that request, the system showed that you want the services to be delivered by a specific individual or extension worker. So the payment, the loan is processed by the SACCO and it is paid direct to the service provider, but that only happens after the service provider has delivered the service. So a secret code is given for credit. A secret code is given to the farmer, which will be issued upon completion of delivery of the service by the service provider.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you a question about many times when people access credit through groups. Is it going to be, if I access it through cooperative group that I am in, will it come directly to me or it still be shared within the group members?
So, like I said, even when it is a group request, we do not, the credit does not go to the person who has made the request. The payment, that credit is processed by the SACCO and payment is made to the person who has provided the service.
I want to get to Stella. Stella, you've been listening. I want to ask you, of course, earlier on, Asime explained a couple of things, but we want to understand how this will benefit our farmers in northern Uganda. How will they benefit from this concept? And of course, understanding northern Uganda better. You to tell us how they're going to benefit from it.
Our services cater for the lowest people. The rural setting. And so when we tell you that we are going to get digital agents who will take their orders in case they don't have phones, you can see a benefit already of having agro inputs go through their doorsteps. So when we say that we're going to be trading them using the digital agents, then they are accessing information. They're going to be able to access credit for those agro inputs. Most of the time, like you said, you've been in the north, and we work in the north, and you've noticed that the next agro shop is about 40 kilometers away. So if I'm going to go there and then get there and find that the inputs I need are not there, and then I get a border back, it costs me about 10,000, 15,000. But if I have a digital agent coming and telling me, taking my order in time, and then, you know, most of these suppliers are in Kampala, and then my order getting to the supplier in Kampala and aggregated. So access to agro inputs and certified agro inputs is going to be one of the best benefits these farmers are going to. And also access to them in time of planting. Now, another thing that they're going to access is with time, we're going to use their produce as credit. So you can imagine in 6 months they will be able to, we now know their production, and these suppliers will be able to give them some credit. Yeah. So that is also a benefit that they would never ordinarily be able to access. We were talking to an agro dealer and he was saying, yes, if they make their orders 2 months in advance, I'll give them, they only have to put down 5%. Yeah, so access to credit, another non, and then access to good agriculture practices. We are working with people who are bulking, and bulking means like they aggregate all the produce. They have a certain quality they need, quality of maize, the quality of soybeans. So you can imagine when they want that quality and you produce that quality, already there's a market linkage. If they give you a seed and then they're expecting this quality of maize and you produce it, another profit is you have markets, already made markets. Yes.
Because there's some questions that has come through online, I want to ask you, but I want to ask you, Stella, there's been an issue of middlemen. Of course, this has been the most dangerous trade I've seen in northern Uganda. The middlemen will come, somebody has got output from the farm, but the middlemen take advantage because he knows where the market is. I don't know whether how you're going to deal with that as well, the new market linkage.
Actually, what we're looking at is if a buyback policy. One of the things you will see that we're working with him, you could call him a middleman, but he's an aggregator. He has got a new seed on credit. He's got a new digital agent that you can order. You've gotten access to seed, access to finance, access to proper produce. why would you sell to someone else? And he's already guaranteeing you a good price. So middlemen, we're going to a little bit rubbish them, or they will be part of the value chain, but in a nicer fashion.
Okay, thank you. Stephen, some questions that have come online.
Yeah, thank you, Stella. I have 3 questions that have come from the Zoom call. The first question is about traceability. So, is the traceability tool specific to any value chain, or is it going to be opened up? That's the first question. But most importantly, they are also asking that in the northern Uganda, we still have gaps in terms of both soft and hard skills. How will the last mile farmer engage if this gap is still existing? And lastly, with all the information that you've been shared, who meets the embedded costs, and what's the business model for the tool to be sustainable? That's the first question on traceability. So Stella and Alan, you'll take up that. Then there is a second question from Obuku Emmanuel again that goes to Paula and most probably to Mbagut as well. So which financial institutions do you intend to work with or you are currently working with? And how are the direct credit risks going to be managed and minimized in the project implementation? Are you working with any partners on capacity building? So ICO here will come in to show the partnership that NILCOM has and how ICO contributes to capacity building. Yeah. Then what are some of the ICT gaps? Majority of the target audience don't have phones. So what are the initiatives that you intend to take to bridge the gap of phone ownership and penetration within West Nile and Northern Uganda? So those are the 3 questions so far that have come from the Zoom call, and I'll be happy to have you to respond. So we can start with Stella. Over to you.
Just a reminder, if you're answering, be brief as you can.
Now, the question about traceability and how it will be effective in northern Uganda. Like I've been telling you, we have tried to mitigate some of these things. They don't have phones. We've got dictator agents who are going to have phones, and each dictator agent is going to cater for about 30 people in a village. So that already, if those 30 people don't have phones, he's able to be their mouthpiece. He's going to be able to register them, profile them, know what their value chain is, and then be able to take their orders. So when you start doing that, you're already starting traceability from the seeds. These guys are going to order for this particular seed, so we know the value chain. Again, you're not going to do 100 value chain in an area which plants simsim and sorghum. Those are the 2 you will take. So we will go, while we are profiling, we will also know which value chains this particular location takes. And then that's where the traceability starts. So we won't take their orange seeds for simsim farmers.
So in the implementation of the project, there should be a phase for registration of credit institutions, of financial institutions that are willing to work with farmers. So at that point, we shall get to register them, approach them and get to register them and request them to work with the farmers. Then also registration of these input providers, because the loans should be agri-based. Yeah? So you register these input providers and agree on how they'll be able to provide credit to provide loans to credit-worthy farmers and credit-worthy farmer organizations. So when we are registering also these farmer organizations, produce organizations, we shall register their history, how they have been performing. Are they credit-worthy, or they are worth 1 million, but they want a credit of 100 million? So those are things that we shall put into consideration when registering, so that we have all this good quality information that credit institutions can use, that input providers can use.
Yes, now over to ICO. We're talking about capacity building, both hard and soft skills. What has been your experience, and how do you actually intend to actually accelerate this? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. As ICO, we help farmers and small businesses to grow, and our capacity building will focus on the farmers groups and the cooperatives, more especially on the utilization of the connected farmer platform. We'll do this by training digital village advisors, and these are the people who will now work with the members of the farmers groups to train them on good agricultural practices. We'll also provide trainings on marketing, because all these farmers, in order for them to earn a living, they need to work as a group by so bulking their produce and also accessing the services that will be provided by the connected farmer. So this is built on some of the projects that we already have ongoing in West Nile, that is in Yumbe and Nebi, where we have worked with over 8 farmers groups. And from the profiling that will be done by the NileCom, these are the farmers group that will work with to build their capacity in order for them to access good market for their produce.
Okay, I think the last question as we go to the farmer here is around phone penetration and phone access. So the question that came in here is that we realized in the target area we still have a gap, and majority of them don't have phones. So what are some of the initiatives that you're thinking about that could address this gap and try to see that at least phone penetration actually gets to most of these areas?
Yeah, one of the things that Kamwe has done is to talk to some providers, and we've also talked to some of the farmer leaders in northern Uganda to see how we shall use produce as a credit for them to get funds. So we're going to be using, if a farmer brings 2 sacks of sorghum, he at every cycle, then he can get credit for a fund of 50 to 100,000 shillings. So this is already in the pipeline, and we've talked to several farmer leaders in northern Uganda, and they're saying this is really good, because then some of these farmers actually even make 3 million shillings, but they just can't access the funds, or they haven't thought about the need to be digitized. So we are going to show them the need, and we're going to give them funds for produce, not cash.
Yeah, northern Uganda now, with the betting, people have acquired phones, so you'll have a safe land. That's just by the way. We have also been made to understand that the Minister for ICT has come, so we shall have her come through. But as she comes, I want to engage my friend from Kitgum, David. David, you're a farmer. You've heard what these people are going to do in your region. You're here to present not only northern Uganda, this other part, as well as West Nile. You have heard from them. I don't know whether you have a question to one of them or all of them, but how different will this impact on what you do for a living, which is farming and supporting different groups in northern Uganda? Do you think this will have an impact?
Yes, I want to send my sincere thanks for this digital innovation, because I look at it, it's going to answer most of the questions we have been asking ourselves as farmers in the field, and also really it's a good opportunity for me to share real life field experiences on the ground. This digital innovation, I believe it's going to support all the farmers within the northern regions and the country at large. One, I believe all farmers will get so much happy to see that everything is done very transparently. Because in the past, we do not know when rain will come. But with these digital innovations, we believe we shall be having weather predictions and the data and give us clear guidance. Even for the extension workers who used to work close with the farmers, really it's going to support them. Another thing also, as farmers will be sure of the right information coming from all the key stakeholders, whether from the input suppliers, we get right quality inputs from the right or from the generating suppliers than compared to the past, whereby we don't have even the data of the input suppliers within our regions. And we are happy with these innovations. I heard about agents, also agents within our area operations. We believe we can have all these informations from the agents with no cost. Another thing also we look at it, prices of the inputs or for even the grains, because we always have a bigger challenge. The price of seeds or other inputs always so high compared to the price of the grains. Because when we produce our crops, the most frustrating part of it is prices for the grain always being communicated with so low. Now, with these innovations, we are going to negotiate directly to the off-takers or to the buyers. It means we have a clear market linkage to the buyers, as well as also for the input suppliers. Another thing also, as farmers organized in a group, I think this opportunity for the farmers to negotiate for a better price for their grains compared to in the past where individuals sell their grains at any time. I think this time we can predict when we have to sell and when not to sell. When we come to issue of the few input dealers within the sub-regions, in the northern region, they used not to move down to the farmer groups and sell their products. Now, with these digital innovations, we believe as farmers will have choices where to go and buy and to what price. And it means we should also be having data for all the input suppliers within the sub-region as farmers.
Thank you so much, David. And we want to welcome Honorable Minister Judith Nabakoba, the Minister for ICT. You're welcome. You got us when we were having a discussion, a panel discussion, because these are some of the people who will involve and implement the digital platforms of agriculture in northern Uganda. And thanks for coming again. And that gentleman who has been talking is from northern Uganda, specifically in Kitgum. He's a farmer. So he has been sharing some of the things he thinks this platform will help. I want to take this moment to again invite my brother, who is going to invite Chris, and then shall have the minister. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ben. Honorable Minister, you're most welcome. Development partners, media, ladies and gentlemen. I take the honor to welcome everyone here today as we launch our new projects in Northern and West Nile region. And to that effect, I just want to build on the discussion we've just been having. So we have close to 4 partners that we'll be working with to see how we improve agriculture in Northern Uganda and West Nile, leveraging what we're calling digital inclusive innovation. So there's a lot of talk that has been there out around inclusive innovation and using digital technologies, but now we want to walk the talk and ensure that we're able to impact the different segments within Northern and West Nile. Having said that, I will now invite the digital country lead, Chris, to have a few words, and after that, we'll invite the minister. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Honorable Minister, you're welcome. And welcome again to all our colleagues from the media, our implementing partners. My name is Chris Lukolio. I'm the head of program for UNCDF's program on leaving no one behind in the digital era. As you all know, we are in a digital era. Right now, there are about, maybe 40 people here, but we actually have over 200 on Zoom. So we are using digital platforms to access information. We are using digital platforms to access healthcare, but there are those in danger of being left behind. We're talking about rural farmers, women, refugees, migrants, small businesses. And so the program that we are running focuses on ensuring that no Ugandan is left behind in this digital era. And that's why we are so honored to have the Honorable Minister for ICT and National Guidance to join us in launching these programs, these projects in northern Uganda. Because again, while several of us are using these platforms, those who are in danger of being left behind are actually at greater risk for reduction in productivity, for they need to have better well-being. And so technology can play a role. And so the projects that we're launching today are really geared towards that, to build an inclusive digital economy in Uganda. And so with that, I would really like to welcome Honorable Minister Judith Nawakoa to help us, to give us a few comments and to help us launch this program. Because once again, we want to ensure that no Ugandan is left behind. And it is indeed a momentous occasion for us. And we want to thank once again our implementing partners. And Honorable Minister, allow me to welcome you. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. The representative from the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, dignitaries from government ministries and agencies, the development partners, financial technology solution providers, the UNCDF staff, and the head of program, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to witness the event that kicks off new and existing digital solutions that will deliver economic benefit and transform agriculture, as many of us know. As the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, we are particularly delighted because driving the use of technology to increase productivity in agriculture is one of the objectives of the Digital Transformation Agenda and also the National Development Plan 3. I'm glad to mention that the Ministry has worked hand in hand with UNCDF and the National Planning Authority to mainstream ICT in all government programs under NDP 3. Ladies and gentlemen, the launch of these digital solutions has come at a time when the world is depending on digital technology to continue operations as we face the COVID-19 pandemic. Around the world, digital solutions are helping to reduce the spread of coronavirus by aiding the public health response, minimizing the need for face-to-face interactions, and helping some of the businesses to stay afloat. Indeed, we have seen increased use of technology in government operations. We are now using technology to track and register recent entrants at our border points. We monitor even quarantined travelers, but also giving real-time information to our health ministry, and also giving the expiry of the quarantine days to those who are in quarantine. While the COVID-19 crisis has situated the role of digital transformation in addressing the day-to-day challenges, I want to say that as a ministry, we have been relentlessly working to increase the uptake and usage of digital services in Uganda. The Ministry of ICT we have focused on investment in the infrastructure, which is the foundation of digital transformation. We have tried to extend the national backbone infrastructure. As you all know, at the moment we have about 4,000 kilometers of fiber across the country, but we have another phase which is yet to come, which is called phase 5. We hope to extend fiber to other areas of the country where fiber is not. And with that extension, we also provide services to Ugandans using the last mile, whereby different MDAs, local governments, and also other private businesses in the different areas will be connected online, and that will ease the running of businesses in the different parts of the country. Through the extending of the national backbone infrastructure, government ministries, departments, and agencies are able to provide e-services, including e-passport, e-visa, IFMIS, e-tax by URA, e-procurement, the IPPS for the management of pension and payroll, but also the refugee registration system at the OPM, to mention but a few. We have currently over 100 e-services online. Even the costs and the time of registration of a business has reduced. Previously, it used to be like 2 months, but as we speak now, in 2-3 days, one can register a business here in Uganda, meaning that we are on course as a country. We are now working to enhance the usage of ICT in the national development and services delivery by ensuring that all ministries, departments, and local governments digitize their processes and develop solutions such as e-health, e-education, e-extension services, among others. Despite the evident role the technology can play in improving our processes, utilization of ICT services across the country is hampered by limited network coverage, high cost of devices and internet, and inadequate skills. We still have those challenges as a country, but we believe that we are going to engage more of our communities, especially the rural communities. Now that we have people even from the northern Uganda and the West Nile coming on these digital platforms, we believe that it will be a way of facilitating even other communities to embrace the digital platforms and also be in position to access useful information, which information can help them to improve their work in one way or another. This is why, as a ministry, we are focusing on deployment of secure, integrated, and cross-sector ICT infrastructure, promotion of innovation and commercialization of ICT products, digital inclusion, but also digital literacy. Ladies and gentlemen, the ministry has made significant progress towards the creation of an innovation ecosystem and the development of ICT entrepreneurs. We are building innovation hubs and workspaces countrywide to support efforts of innovators like we have seen here today. And one of the innovation hubs, which is almost complete, is at Nakawa under UICT, that is Institute of Communication Technology. We have a hub where some of these innovators will be converging and their ideas will be refined into better products. We are looking at import substitution to have software development programs from here that can be used by our citizens, but also it will in one way help the youth to get employment using technology. The solutions we have witnessed are just a few. For example, how digital technologies can revolutionize agriculture and help farmers and farmer groups access information, world markets, and benefit from efficiencies using simple mobile technologies. I'm glad that the financial technology innovators are focusing on agriculture, because digital transformation in the sector does not only benefit the farmers, it also impacts on food security for millions of Ugandans. The agriculture sector, which has previously found it difficult to compete with other technical survey industries, is now attracting young ICT talent. I'm hoping that through innovations like these ones, the young generations will start to see agriculture as an attractive venture. We have been seeing agriculture done by the old people, but now with the use of technology, I believe we are going to see more young people embracing agriculture. And remember that majority of Ugandans, about 70%, do agriculture, especially in the countryside. We believe that this is a good intervention which is going to attract the young people, but also improve on what they do as far as accessing services is concerned, looking at wider markets, but also improving on the products they invest in. Allow me, lastly, to commend the United Nations Capital Development Fund and the entire development sector for the continued support to the development work in Uganda. It is once again my pleasure to be here today and to welcome you all to witness the launch and partnership of these technologies that we have seen here today. So that is the end of my speech, and I want to thank you so much for having helped our young people in the western and northern Uganda. We just urge the people in those areas to use the technologies to access services, but also be guided in one way or another as they carry out their different agricultural services in those areas.
Honourable Minister, allow me to invite you to help us sign this Corex board as a commemoration of the launch of this program.
Thank you, Minister. Yeah, we shall continue. Thank you, Minister. Uganda. Yes. Uganda. Let's just finish up the program. We want to give them
So they want a Uganda version.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I think we shall continue. So we have a couple of questions that have come through that I'll pause and you can feel free to answer, but I'll answer some of those questions as well.
Let's have 5 minutes for that to recap very briefly. Thank you.
Olwaleero nva kutongoza kaweefube w'okukozesa tekinologiya okuyamba abalimi baffe mu bitundu by'omumambuka. Tekinologiya ono agenda okuyamba abalimi, agenda kubanga abawa amawulire agakwata ku birime byabwe, era nga ajja kubayamba n'okubanga bafuna okuwabulibwa abo b'amagezi nga bakozesa tekinologiya atali muzibu nnyo, nga bakozesa essimu zaabwe. Oli asobola okumanya kiki kyenteekamu ensimbi, kigimusa ki kyenteekamu, ssente mmeka, ettaka lifaanana litya, bulwadde ki obulumbi ekirime kyange, ate n'obutale, okwegatta ku butale obw'ebitundu ebirala. Luli babadde mu kitundu kyabwe ng'oba oli awo obutale bubatwalira obudde okunoonya. Kino kitegeeza nti obulimi bugenda kubeera nga butumbuddwa mu ngeri emu oba endala, n'abalimi baffe basobole okubeera nga nabo balina engeri gye beegasse ku bitundu ebirala ebiri mu mulimu guno ogw'obulimi. Kino kirungi kubanga abavubuka be bakiwomyemu omutwe okozesa tekinologiya okutumbula ebyobulimi. Tusuubira nti n'abavubuka kigenda baagazisa omulimu gw'ebyobulimi okulaba nti okulima si kulima bulimi, naye mulimu ogusobola okubawa ensimbi, ate mulimu ogusobola okubayamba n'okuyigiriza abavubuka bannaabwe okubeera nga bagwagala n'okugukola. N'olwekyo twebaza aba United Nations Capital Development Fund abatadde ensimbi n'okuyigiriza abantu baffe bano abagenda okuba nga basomesa bannayuganda mu bitundu by'omu mambuka, era tusaba bannayuganda bonna gye bali okwetaba ku nkola eno basobole okuba nga bayambibwa mu by'obulimi. Tukirabye nti tekinologiya takyadda mabega, y'enkola yokka gye tulina okukozesa okulaba nti tutumbula ebintu byaffe mu by'obulimi, mu byenjigiriza, mu by'obulamu, mu bya bizinesi. Twetaaga tekinologiya nti obeera wakaawo n'onyiga akasimuko, obubaka ne bujja, naye ng'obubaka obujja bukuwa magezi kwongera mutindo oba kulongoosa ekyo ky'okola. Mwebale nnyo bassebo ne bannyabo. Hope it's okay.
Specs. Have you seen any specs here?
Okay, so we shall continue. We shall continue with some questions that have come through, and after the questions, we shall have our partners demo their solutions so that you have a feel of the kind of solutions that will be coming through. Okay, so the first question is, what plans are there for managing access to digital devices in order to make use of the digital tools and information? That's the first question. So they're asking, how will these devices be managed and access to digital devices? Talking about affordability of devices and connectivity is critical. So how will this be addressed? Do we have any engagements with both private and public sector to either finance these devices and subsidize them? Then there is a comment from Equity Bank. They are proud that this is happening and they are prepared to be part of this journey, and they look forward to being among those that will bring digital transformation and prosperity to the people of northern Uganda and West Nile. Yeah, so those are the questions, and someone also needs clarity on the access to credit solutions. So those are the questions, and after we've done with those questions, we shall allow the partners to demonstrate the solutions here, and I'll hand over to Ben to conclude this gathering. Thank you.
I think we can start with the one start with Stella. We've not started with her, so let me start with Uhuru. Here's the Uhuru, some of the questions that were asked.
Access to devices.
Yeah.
Now, you see, I have a conviction that actually farmers can afford to pay phones. But because you find that a farmer has harvested 6 tons of maize and is earning over 3-4 million, and these phones are as cheap as 30,000. But the question, then we must ask, why are farmers not buying the phones? Maybe we haven't presented a business case to them. So maybe if we can present a value proposition to them on the benefit of having a phone, that the farmers can know,
before they do the demos,
that the farmers can know that they can achieve much more if they buy a phone than when they don't have phones. So for me, I think besides the subsidization and all that, I believe farmers can afford to buy phones. But then maybe we are not presenting a convincing value proposition to them. That maybe if you have a phone, you are able to order for inputs which are genuine, So you don't buy counterfeits. You are able to tap into markets in Kampala, markets in Kenya, markets in Rwanda. You are able to get weather information instantly. You are able to get agronomical support. So you can simply call and receive whatever information you need to improve your farm. So if we can present a better case, a value proposition that is convincing, I believe these farmers can buy phones. So it's a matter of sensitization. But yes, there are those who can't afford. Then we can talk about subsidization. We can talk about giving them funds on credit. But majority are able to afford these funds if we present a better business case.
My brother there from Lira. You actually. Did you hear the question? Do we need to repeat it? Still on the phones and credits.
Credit. I think regarding the phones, as we are saying, the farmers need to get market for whatever they're going to produce. So if a farmer has a market and is able to get a good profit from their farms, then buying the phone will not be a very big problem. But currently, the farmers, they don't have market for whatever they're producing. So that means even planning to buy a phone becomes an issue. And as my brother has already said it, we also need to tell the farmers, if you have phones, what other benefits will you get? You can get prices, information on prices. You can get information on weather. You can get information on health. You cannot use it only on agriculture, but you also get other information. So I think those are the kind of things we need to work on.
That's brilliant, because the farmer will get to know the weathercast, what will happen in my region. I think that is good. Paula, you want to add anything?
Issue of funds. The access to loans for inputs can also be geared to loans for funds, so that the farmer can get funds on credit. They can work with companies like Nelcom for fund financing. We have that product coming up, so we'll be able to work with farmers, see how we can finance them to access funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Asimwe and Stella, do you want to add anything on that? Probably a closing remark as well, because we are almost coming to an end.
Oh, yes. I mean, it has all been said regarding farmers being able to earn and spend. Already when you talk about funds, that is a non-agricultural product, but it is an enabler for the farmers to be able to consume these platforms we are working on. So part of our work is to make sure that farmers understand that technology or digital is also an input. They have to spend on it, whether they're paying for cash, whether they're paying cash or getting credit. And the other thing is, of course, to make sure that all the content and services that we innovate or develop are easy and usable. So the phone is very important for the usability, completion of transactions, and all this should be happening on the phone. And without the phone being the last mile, we can't do much. It's all about access. It's all about acquisition, the acquisition of the technology and usability of the technology.
My brother from Akelo Banka, that name is interesting. So Akelo, why is it Akelo Banka? But your last remark.
Thank you very much. Just to second what Mr. See, one of the reasons we think our best approach is to actually partner with financial institutions in the area is to make sure that they are actually able to even finance some of these items. Because a financial institution will design a product based on the demand and the viability of the business. Now, if once our farmers get to know that a phone is something that is very, very critical, subsequently, the financial institutions that are in those respective areas that they shall work with can actually design financing of credit product, loan products that are geared towards financing some of those items. And once we have an element like phone financing, as someone has said, then certainly that will increase on phone penetration in the area.
David, I was coming to you. So,
we prefer the service provider for the phone need to be on the ground, and also the grain aggregator or buyers need to come and pay for the grain on time when we need, so that we farmers, we can easily access this fund.
Okay.
Another thing also, we still look at the quality of this fund and the ease of charging. We believe the network now almost everywhere.
Okay.
At least we are also upping most of our colleagues on the ground, at least 1 or 2 families, at least one of the members has a phone for now. We believe information sharing will not be a problem.
Okay. Thank you. It has started raining. I saw a hand somewhere. Asime, I just want just 1 minute.
To answer what you were saying is that I'd like to mention that NELCOM is in every district in West Nile, and we do provide funds. So we have one shop in each district, and we have agents that can move around to be able to get these funds and products closer to the farmer.
All right, thank you so much, our partners that have been here. So what we are going to do, we also need you to sign our board here. So I'll can sign, and then we shall do the demos. That's the last thing. As we keep social distance. All right. That is hard to forge. Uru, that is very hard to forge, yeah? I need to go back to school to do these things. My signature is very simple to forge.
Guys, I'm serious.
Thank you, David.
The demos.
I'm seeing so. But luckily we are in, so they're going to show it on the screen, right?
Yes.
So the condition. But you don't want your signature there?
So you don't have signature there. Why?
Okay. So I think we shall go to the demo. Are you guys ready with the demo? My signature is horrible. So we can do the demos.
Now, a group of youth with a keen interest in software engineering and agronomy have set up an agriculture call center to help farmers access information. The move aims at bridging the information gaps in the agriculture sector as government grapples with limited extension workers supposed to interact with the farmers and provide technical advice.
In the financial year 2018-2019, the Ministry of Agriculture earmarked recruitment of 500,000 extension workers, a move that was approved by the Cabinet. Only 3,854 extension workers at district and sub-county levels have been recruited, leaving a deficit.
The government cannot deploy extension workers across the country. It will become very expensive and unsustainable. But if we can work hand in hand with extension farmers, even if they are few, and then we work hand in hand with them, then we can bridge the information gap. So because for us, we are stationed here, but then we can cover the entire country. We can receive calls from across the country.
Serubiri Uhuru, the founder of the center in Nankulabe, says he put a team of professional software engineers and agronomists that came up with the concept.
With different ideas. One was, how can we create a system where farmers can send SMS and be able to ask questions, and then we are able to answer them. But again, the weakness with that, because most of our farmers are in rural areas, and then phone literacy is still low. So a village woman may not be able to text her problem the way she may be able to express it, may be by calling someone. So that system had a weakness. So there was also an alternative system of using USSD system, but then it also had the same limitation whereby someone has to type, and since the phone literacy level is still low in villages, then that was also problematic. So what we did was to come up with the idea of establishing a call center.
Serubiri says the call center has the right personnel needed to handle demands of farmers.
Also help them in diagnosing crop diseases, like maybe if I'm growing tomatoes and my tomatoes are affected by a disease that I don't understand, then I can call in a toll-free line, and then I can be able to talk to an expert and gives me advice. So we also connect them to different agro input suppliers.
The idea has been welcomed by the community.
After signing up, proceed to make your request by dialing *284 *60#. Select the service that you want to undertake from the list available. Enter your PIN, which was sent via SMS. Proceed to make a request. Enter the request you want, such as seed. Select the maize. Input the payment option. Enter the number of acres. Enter the quantity of seed. Select when you want the service to be done. Select where you need the service. Proceed to select the nearest provider. Go ahead and validate the provider. Confirm the information that you have provided in the system. You have successfully sent your request. Wait and you'll be notified. Welcome to Akelo Banker, a platform that brings all farming possibilities to your palm. Here is your step-to-step guide towards using Akelo Banker. Step 1, dial *284 *60#. Then select OK. Select Sign Up. Step 3, sign up as an individual. Step 4, select Farmer. Step 5, fill in all the details and you will be notified via SMS with your access details.